Here I got no showdown value. I choose to represent the flush and push all in. Welcome to this episode of How to Crush No Limit Hold'em Games in United States Casinos. I'm June. Today we're going to Bellagio in Las Vegas, where the most tables poker room in Vegas. And there are many sharings on the YouTube, many vloggers film videos here. So for me, it's like a dream come true. And let's go fishing. Today I'm playing 2-5 small blind big blind games here, and I bought in for 1,000 US dollars, and soon the player beside me says first time, and I just realized that I can only bring $500 when I first bought in. And the first hand I'm gonna share is I got pocket jacks under the gun, and I open raise to 15 bucks. Cutoff and bottom player called. Flop comes 9 jack 4 2 hearts. Very lucky I got top set, and simultaneously it's a very wet and many draws board, and I haven't got many read for the players here, so I choose to check and preparing for a check raise here, but the two players both choose to check back, and the turn comes a king of clubs. And there are two draws here, and definitely we want to bet for value, and we're targeting their king x, 9x, and various draws here. So I bet for 35 bucks, around 70% of the pot, and two players both choose to call. River comes a 8 of clubs and completes a backdoor flush. I got set on my hand, so I think I still got some value, and maybe targeting their two pairs or top pairs, and I choose to bet for $100, and if I got raised I probably would choose to fold, and cutoff player folded, and the bottom player think for a long time, and finally he choose to call. I show my set, but opponent shows 7-4 of clubs. Unfortunately, we lost our first pot. The second hand of today is I got ace 8 of hearts, and I open raise to 15 bucks, and big blind player called, and flop comes king 9 6 2 hearts, and big blind check to me. This is also a wet board, has many draws on it, and overall, I had enough flush draw, and I'm a preferred raiser, so I choose to bet for 10 bucks, and the opponent choose to call. A turn comes a 10 of diamond. An opponent check again, and this turn card is really interesting because Jack Queen and 7-8 makes a straight, and 9-10 becomes two pairs, so it favors the caller's ranges. But as I also pick up a gut shot here, I choose to bet for the second street, trying to put pressure on opponent's hands like 8-9, 9-7, 10 queen, 10 jack, these kind of hands. And the opponent chooses to call again. And the river comes a jack of clubs. And the board becomes one card straight board, and the opponent check again. And I decided to give up by having two hearts on my hand, and the opponent shows king queen offsuit, and we lost this pot. Although this decision seems right, but I still wondering what would the GTO solver think about. So on the board with hijack versus big blind, and the flop, the solver would suggesting high frequency betting. And the betting size, I could choose a larger size. And when the turn comes a 10 of diamonds, the suggestion would be check 54% of our ranges. And the value betting range would be top pair with great kickers and straight, And the bluff range would be ace queen, ace jack, this kind of hands. And also we can see that ace 8 of hearts, since there is flush draw and gut shot, is also suggesting with the second big bet. And the river comes a jack, and if the opponent check, here we would check back a lot of trips and then 2 pairs, and betting all the combos with queen. And interestingly, here the solver was suggesting bluff with some misdraws with AX, and which quite makes sense, because if we continue betting 2 streets and we go into river, the best bluff combos would be AX and some small pocket pairs without any showdown value. And so we actually made a mistake. We actually should fire the third bullet when there are similar situations. So after these hands, I choose to change table because I think these players here are very tight and they're not very deep behind. So I choose to change tables to looking for some profitable opportunity. And the first hand I changed table, I got all in. And this hand is I got king 10 offsuit on the hijack, and I raise it to 15 bucks. Cutoff and big blind calls. The flop comes 996 2 diamonds. Big blind check to me. And on this board, which the opponent is hardly to hit anything, I choose to bet for 15 bucks. I'm hoping the miss 2 high cards fold, and cutoff player folded and big blind calls. Turn comes a 7 of diamonds and complete the flush. Opponent checks again, and because I had this king of diamonds, plus I had a gut shot, so I choose to bet another $40, hoping to fold every pairs, and simultaneously I got many outs, so opponent choose to call again. And the river comes a jack of clubs, which is basically a blank, and opponent choose to check again. And simultaneously he's playing with the 5 chips he got on his hands. Here I got no showdown value. I choose to represent the flush and push all in. And unfortunately, opponent didn't think for a long time and he chose to call. And he showed ace 9 of spades. And we lost this pot. The next hand I got ace 8 offsuit. I raised to 15 bucks and big blinds calls. The flop comes queen 5 6 2 hearts. Check to me. I think this board is kind of connective, so if I bet, the opponent perhaps would not fold on the flop. And many ranges, if I bet the opponent fold, would lose to my ace high, so I choose to check back. And turn comes a 7 of diamonds. I got a open-ended straight draw, and opponent bet for 20 bucks, around half of a pot. And because I check back the flop, there's no many strong hands in my range, so I cannot raise, so I choose to call. And the river comes a 3 of diamonds and complete the flush. And simultaneously, it's a 1 card straight board with a 4. So opponent choose to check again. Here is very interesting because I don't think the opponents would check his flush or straight here. And based on the storyline the opponent is playing, I think his hands would be mostly like middle pair or some hand with some showdown value want to showdown with me. So I bet for 40 bucks to bluff, and luckily the opponent choose to fold it, and I successfully take down this pot. And this hand I also got a review with the solver, and on the spot with big blinds versus bottom, if the flop is queen 5 6, after big blind check, for most ranges on the bottom is a mixed strategy. Overall, over half of the frequency would choose to check. And turn is a 7 of diamonds. facing the half pot bet from big blind, there's almost no ranges would raise. Only a few combos that hit a straight or two pairs or set on the turn would choose to raise. And here the solver would suggest we give up all the combos without any developability, like ace jack, ace 10, king jack, king 10. Call with all the pairs and combos with 4 or 8 because they have a open-ended straight draw. And interestingly, if we got ace 8 offsuit, the solver would suggest raise all the combos with 8 of hearts. And if the river is a 3 of hearts, after opponent checked, the solver was suggesting betting all the combos with flush and 4 straight, also top pair with good kickers. So it's actually wider than I thought. And the bluff range would contains a lot of hands without any showdown value and simultaneously have 1 heart on our hand. And the ace 8 offsuit was suggesting 100% of bluffing. So we're actually making a correct decision, but the sizing we choose is obviously too small, and the solver was suggesting overbet 2 sides of the pot. And the next hand I got pocket 6 and I choose to open raise to 15 bucks. Hijack and bottom player all calls. The flop comes 2-5-5, and this is a very dry board. I choose to bet for 15 bucks. I wishing to deny equity of 2 high cards, and hijack player calls. Turn comes a 5, which means opponents have much less 5 combos in opponent's range. So here I choose to represent overpairs and I'm betting for 16 bucks, around 3/4 of the pot. And the opponent chooses to call again. The river comes a 7 of clubs. And this card is not a great card for bluffing. And opponents also has some possibility having hands like pocket 7s. And considering opponents calls my raise from an early position and also calls my second barrel, so he actually got a very strong range. So after thinking for a while, I decided to check and give up this pot. And opponent checked back, and luckily the opponent shows pocket 4s. Very luckily we win this pot. In this episode we have more hands using the software to review our hands, because I think most players in Bellagio are mostly reg and playing normally comparing with other casinos. And the stacks are mostly 100 big blinds, and there are a lot of heads up pot. So I think I can use software more to review my playing style here. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys all like it this week. And next week we will have many great hands. So I will see you guys next week.
Then it's your chance to be ruthless.